You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back. It is Monday. It is noon Central. It is 1 p.m. Eastern. It is time to commence our broadcast week in high style. Hope you're ready to strap in for an awesome week of content on all of the various outlets that carry our Options Insider Radio Network content. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the THE, OptionsInsider.com, as well as from the aforementioned OIRN. Again, if you like what you hear, this show, anything else on the network, like star comments, ratings, reviews, it all does help. Also, if you like what some of our sponsors have to offer and you want to hit them up and let them know that, hey, they love that too. We love that. It's a virtuous circle at the end of the day. It's a great way to help out the network there and let the sponsors know that, hey, they have something cool that you like, that you heard about on the network at the end of the day. And if you want to hear about more stuff, you want to go beyond just the shows hitting the old download network, you want to go above and beyond. You want, let's say, I don't know, maybe an exclusive podcast feed all your own with 300 plus episodes waiting for you the second you hit that button, plus exclusive new content hitting every week, Q&As, options oddities, live streams to everything we do. Get your name in the hat for awesome giveaways and a whole bunch more. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go. Get your name in the hat sometime before the end of March to get your name in, of course, the running for the Pro Trading Crate out there. Of course, it is our first episode of the week. We like to kick things off with a little bit of fun. I am joined once again on the Monday episode by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, as well as by the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. Gentlemen, get your buzzer hands ready, because it is time for a little bit of 80s trivia. Here we go. All right. Today's question is not an easy one. I will admit I did not know the answer. It comes to us courtesy of our super producer who put this one together for you. So if you don't like it too hard for you, blame her. Don't blame me. But it is the season for you basketball heads. March Madness is upon us. The first NCAA game was played back in 1939. That's when the tournament officially began. It had 8 teams back then. It expanded to 16 teams in 1951, doubled again to 32 teams in 1975, and then did its final expansion to its current roster of 64 teams in what year? Hint! It did happen in the 80s, so even if you have no clue, guess a year in the 80s, and you have a 1 in 10 chance of being right. There you go, Rock Lobster. getting in first, sir. What you got? Pick a year, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Rock Lobster. I called on you.
Oh, sorry. I was muted. 1980.
Oh, interesting guess, but no. All right, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, the ball has thrown to you. Your odds have just increased. Pick a year, any year.
I'll go with 1982.
Oh, an excellent year as well. But no, it actually was mid-decade. 1985 was the year.
Really?
Yeah, so that late, 1985 is when the NCAA, as we know it, 64 teams came into being.
Was that the Valvano victory, 85?
I do not know. Not a March Madness aficionado.
Baby. That was 82.
82? Oh, okay, yeah.
I believe it was 82 for Valvano at NC State. I don't know for sure, though. I got to check.
I just figured because that was kind of when the real Cinderella story would come in. So, around that, they must have let him in then.
You guys are more well-versed in NCAA lore than I thought. Tell you what, I'll give you a chance to get a bonus. You whiffed on the big one. I'll give you a chance to get a bonus half a point. The name March Madness did not come into usage until Brent Musburger used it during the primetime coverage in what year? Also in the 80s.
Umbridge, I disagree with this.
Well, I'm going with the data here.
All right, I'll just go buzz and say 1983.
Oh, that is not the answer. And Uncle Mike, you might say some Illinois high school guy coined it in 1939, but that is not when it became known in the common parlance. It's officially credited to Brett Musburger. Or you could forfeit and protest and not guess. That's up to you.
I am going to forfeit and protest because I believe in truth. March Madness came from the original home of March Madness is the state of Illinois high school basketball. That's where the phrase was coined. Brent Musburger, give me a break.
So who was the guy who said it in Illinois then?
I don't know.
Aha!
It's from Illinois.
You failed that one as well. Henry V. Porter in 1930. I'm just full of the facts today. Look at me. So yes, there you go, listeners. A little bit of March Madness trivia. Unfortunately, a big goose egg and a double goose egg for TOSAW for protest. So no points for these scumbags as we keep on rolling right on into a little bit of the old trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block. I can appreciate a good symbolic protest. It loses some of its strength if you don't know the name of the person you're protesting in favor of. But nonetheless, the effort was made. Let's see what kind of effort is being made by the markets today. And the answer is a pretty strong one to the upside. If you're in the Uncle Mike camp, you're probably happy. If you're more, dare I say it, dour than perhaps in the Rock Lobster camp, maybe not so much. Either way, it has to be up about 0.75%. So coming off the highs of the day a little bit, but still feeling its oats out there today. The NASDAQ up nearly a full percent, about 0.9% right now. And the Dow up about a third. And you know what? Let us not forget our wild, untamed friends known as small caps. What are they up to on a random day that ends in Y? They're off about 0.33% because, again, small caps can't do what they're told. They have to do whatever the spirit strikes them to on the day. So small caps selling off everything else in the green, including our friend out there in VIX land, which is kind of hanging out right now at about 14 1/3. Technically actually ticking down a little bit right now, down about 0.15, but kind of treading water, pretty much unched from the Thursday show. VVIX 89 down 1, actually 1.5 if you want to be technical. 1.5 points for VVIX out there, but still looking frothier than it was in a 78 or so not too long ago. VXX 1385 down about 0.15. So again, kind of treading water out there. UVXY at a 7 when we kicked off the show. That puts it literally unched from the Thursday show. SVIX back to 40, hit a 40 even actually. So up about 0.25 point. A lot of treading water going on out there right now. And UVIX at a 10 even, down about 0.1 point out there as well. If you want to hear the saga of my fighting to close my UVIX puts going into the close, check out Options Oddities over there on the Pro. A fun conversation was had by all. But you know what? There was no fun at the start of the show because there were no winners, so we have no one to turn to now. So I guess I will start with the Rock Lobster because he buzzed first, so he gets to go first. Now, Mr. Rock Lobster, sounds like you're deeper into NCAA than I assumed. So if you have any random NCAA facts you want to share with our listeners, or by all means. And then B, What's catching your eye out there? Then C, I heard a little birdie telling me that things are hot once again in everyone's favorite small nuclear reactor, sir.
Yeah, I know. I actually know nothing about March Madness. I just remember the Valvano guy winning something for some tiny university. So I thought there could be a correlation that they opened up the 64. If I would have actually thought a little bit, I would have gone with 85 just because that's when I thought they won, but I was obviously wrong. So it would all, even if I was right, it would all been guessing for the wrong reasons.
All for naught, sir.
All for naught. So I like that question though. I feel like, I think even the hardcore basketball people would have a hard time with that one.
Yeah.
That was a stumper.
Super producer not playing this week. Coming for it. Coming for the throat,
no,
the jugular.
Definitely not playing, but we know that. Very serious. As far as I could have sworn I looked at a bunch of puts that were making me money on Friday during the show. And then on options oddities. And then today I come in and they're not making me money anymore.
Funny how that happens when the whole market's up.
It does. So I have I got a little strangle action on. I'm like, okay, now the puts were paying good. Now the puts are back to even. Now the calls are up some money. So it's like, oh my gosh. Anyway. But I guess the fun thing is in our option pit and the ticker show. So Mark and I do a free show every Monday with Leisha. And we're covering kind of this nuclear energy, GE has a joint venture with Hitachi for making small scale reactors, which it looks like it could be, if we could get out of the regulatory way, the lower yield reactors could, power us, green power. But right now, a stock called SMR, New Scale Power, it's been kind of getting squeezed upward. And I think this is just one where I think the shorts might have got a little caught, a little overly short. Again, I don't know exactly, but I've been watching the short interest. It's getting like a week or two ago, like the borrow was only, the negative borrow to me only looked like about a nickel at the money. And now it's $2. So you could buy stock with options $2 lower than where the stock is right now. That is, sell the put and buy the call. So it's getting the Squeezy McSqueezenstein is in full swing here. Now, I don't know how long this will go, but it's already gone about $5 past where I think it could go, which I'm not complaining about because I've, for once, just did the house money roll. Every time I got to the strike, I'm like, okay, I'll roll it up again. And I've just been dumbing it the whole way up.
So you're saying it's exactly like Oatly
some
then.
Credit, but
it's like Oatly. It's like Oatly Part 2 is what you're saying.
It's Oatly in reverse. This is when Oatly does what it's supposed to do, but Oatly is such a piece of junk, nobody even wants to short it is the problem. Because everybody knows it's just never going anywhere ever. So anyway, so SMR is a fun one. It's it made it certainly made my month. It might make a year in this one account if it keeps going. But and there we go. So it's kind of a fun one. But the rest of the market, we rallied hard on what? That Google is providing Apple with some like crappy AI product that like everybody just laughed at last week. And that's enough to send Google up, what, $10 today? Yeah, Google, well, it's come back a little bit. It's only up 7 now. And also it sent Apple higher. Why? Because Apple doesn't have to invent their own AI. Isn't this supposed to be one of the great technology companies on the planet, and they gotta outsource their AI stuff to Google? I don't know. It felt, there's no way I can say it feels like it's peak AI madness, but I'm just going to say if you're a swing trader, I feel like the NVIDIA conferences today, maybe we have just like not a long-term top, but like maybe today might be like a short-term gasp up. And these names might come back to earth just like a little tiny bit for a little while. But I just laughed when I saw the headline, like Apple's buying everybody just laughed at this AI tech like last week. Apple's gonna use it. So clearly I know Google is, they're not idiots. They're gonna make things work better. But I found this very funny and had all the whiff of peak AI in the short term. But
Andrew has called it. As soon as I say
those words, I know I'll probably get run over.
You've called it peak AI, March 18th, the day after St. Patrick's Day, listeners. If you want to go back in your history, everyone looks back, late 2000 for, the collapse of .com. You heard it here today, March 18th, peak AI, sir. You have called it.
I got to at least call some kind of short-term top on this, but I'm sure I'll be run over because that's the nature of this market right now.
That's actually somewhat refreshing because you've been kind of weirdly bullish of late, and it's kind of disconcerted me. I'm not going to lie. I expect that from TOSAW. I don't expect this joyous optimism from you. So it was kind of unsettling me. Now you're back to the rock lobster we kind of all know and love, which is we can handle that.
Back to normal.
We can handle that. Let TOSAW be the ray of sunshine and light, unless he's getting all uppity about Illinois high school basketball. It's conversation for another day. Speaking of the uppity one, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, if you have anything else to add on your weird protest about college basketball or high school basketball, have at it. And then B, what's catching your eye out there in a mostly Uncle Mike type of day, unless you're slinging small caps.
Right. So do they have basketball in college this time of year? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's hard to follow.
You can't really find much on when you turn on TV or go online. It's kind of hard to find. But what I will say is, growing up as a child in the city of Aurora, the basketball rivalry between East Aurora and West Aurora was amazing to watch as a kid. All the future stars that were on those teams, Kenny Battle, who eventually played for the Flying Illini in the 1990 Illinois Final Four team. He was on there. Thomas Wyatt, who eventually played for Utah and New Mexico State, played professionally in Europe, and Kenny Battle ended up playing in the NBA. I mean, it was just so exciting to watch that growing up, and that was a really big deal back then. It's not anymore, unfortunately, but growing up as a kid, getting to go to see the East-West game, it was a major experience, thousands of people. It doesn't compare to like Indiana basketball in high school. I understand that. But growing up as a kid, it was they were very special memories to me. And I'm not even a basketball guy by any means. As everyone who listens to the show knows, I'm more of a football guy. But I just have all the memories of watching those games and the Cardiac Cats, how they beat Bennett Academy in the sectional finals back in '87. Things like that really hold very deep with me. And IHSA basketball is an amazing thing. And it's something that they coined the term March Madness. So the IHSA deserves the credit for that. Just to give you an idea of it, the head basketball coach from my high school just went into my high school's Hall of Fame a couple weeks ago, and I went there to watch him he's retired, but he was the head basketball coach for many years, Wendell Jeffries. He went into the East Aurora Hall of Fame. I went there to support him. And Illinois high school basketball from the 80s. It doesn't compare to pro wrestling by any means, but the high school basketball scene in the city of Aurora back in the 80s was a very special spot to be. And even before my time in the 70s with the late, great Ernie Cavisto, that was even more amazing. Wow. But unfortunately, that was before my time.
Going deep. Uncle Mike in basketball. Who knew?
Yeah, only in a very specific spot, though. That's what's really weird about it, though. After that, I couldn't tell you anything that happened past 1992. But 80s Aurora high school basketball was it was a pretty intense thing in the city of Aurora, the second biggest city in the state of Illinois. But with that being said, in terms of these markets, I'm actually surprised that we are rallying as much as we are, even though we have a Fed announcement coming up on Wednesday. Now, granted, I don't know if the Fed's going to be as big of a market mover as it was a year ago, but I am surprised that we're not in more wait and see mode based upon the Fed. Now, in terms of some of the things that are moving the market today, we got Netflix up over 2% on the day. Google, like Andrew was saying, is a big mover, up roughly 5% on the day. Tesla's up 5% on the day. Apple, it seems like it's Apple's almost feels like it's becoming normal. In that on a good day for Apple right now, it's up a little over 1%. So maybe Apple's becoming a normal stock. Who knows? But no complaints about it by any means. We have NVIDIA actually down on the day, $2, but it's kind of like Chicago weather. You just need to wait 10 minutes, see what happens with it. In terms of the sectors themselves, the main ones that I'm showing that are driving up the markets, of course, we have technology, XLK, the technology sector ETF up 1.3% on the day. We also have consumer discretionaries up 1.5% on the day. In addition to the Russell 2000 not behaving like it should be, we do also have the S&P mid-caps relatively flat on the day, up 0.1%. So not a lot happening. And then bonds are relatively flat. That seems to be a normal thing 2 days before a Fed announcement. So that part seems normal to me. And that's what I'm seeing in the markets today, in addition to 1980s high school Aurora basketball.
That's why you tune in every week, listeners, for our 80s high school basketball updates here on the option block. All right, let's keep on rolling out to the rest of the market. Let's see what's popping off. Is this mostly up day? Is it driving a lot of paper out there? The answer is yeah, it is. I mean, especially out there in products like VIX. VIX, the ADV has continued to erode down to 665,000. And guess what? Already past that with the paper out there today. 674,000 contracts on the tape out there in VIX land. So something is lighting. You know what it is? It's the March 14 puts. 52,000 of those have already gone up against 46,000 of the April 14 puts. So somebody could be rolling a little of their put action out to April. Someone has got a few March 14 puts in my back pocket as well. I can attest to what the Rock Lobster was talking about earlier. Not getting a heck of a lot of juice on those right now. And obviously they're going the way of the dodo pretty soon out there. So I can maybe see an argument for rolling those bad boys. Also, 45,000 of the June 45s have gone up today. So all sorts of funk. I'm just looking to see if those if they went up by themselves. They didn't go up as a spread. Looks like they traded 33 cents. So June 45 calls for 33 cents. Listen, you like those? You like having those in your back pocket for a rainy day? 33 cents. All right. Intriguing stuff afoot. Either way, it's up to nearly 700,000 contracts on the tape right now. SPY not far behind it, 4.3 million. So that's about where we expect SPY this time of day out there. So not blowing the doors off, but also not quiet either. We've seen it hit in the 3 millions recently. So back in the 4.3 level. Good to see out there. And then SPX, 1.65 million out there for the S, so another level we kind of have come to expect right now. Small caps, IWM, looking surprisingly light, 490,000 contracts on the tape. The ADV is about 1.2 million, so it's got a ways to go before it gets there. Is today's little bitty sell-off going to get it there? Doesn't seem like it, but again, the session is young. And the Qs off to the races. Usually expect the Qs right around 2.2 million. They're kind of like clockwork. Today saying, hold my bear, kid, 2.51 million contracts on the tape in Qs land. So Qs on the rampage out there today. You know, we never really pull them up. Let's look at the Qs really quickly and see what's cooking out there in Qs land, listeners. And you know what? Oh my goodness. 127,000 of the March 438 puts. These are, of course, daily, expiring today. So it looks like we have maybe a risk reversal, maybe a strangle. The March 438 and March 18th, so expiring literally today. So the 0 day, 438, 440 strangle / risk reversal going up 127,000 times. Looks like we also have 119,000 of the 439 puts as well. So it could be a put spread against calls. Either way, opening on all of it. My goodness, I have no idea. I don't know, Mr. Rock Lobster, you play around in a lot of strangles. Does the 438, 440 strangle in the Qs expiring today 127,000 times? Does that float your boat, sir?
I mean, one-day strangles are hard. It's not every once in a while I'll get a wild one. What did you say? The 438?
438, 440. I don't have any prices there. I can go look it up.
Right. I'm just looking at the volume right now here. That's a big one.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. Yeah, it looks like it went up in chunks, like big chunks.
80 cents for the puts, it looks like, and let's see. And then again, I don't know if it was could be a weirdo collar, listeners, could be a lot of things.
Yeah, so what'd you say? 440, 438?
Yeah, so it's like 80 cents for the puts and 40 cents for the calls, so $1.20.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. If you think today is the hot top of the AI thing, then this might be an inch of interest to you. The problem is you only got till today. So I think maybe I would guess that whoever the buyer is was looking for a bit of a retrace on the day, but again, total speculation. But I don't think it's an unreasonable price for that strangle, to be honest. But this is how, vol in these things trading, like kind of how they're trading relative to how all the pricing is post Wednesday. There's a little bit of a bulge in that kind of midweek pricing. So I don't know. It's not going to surprise me too much if we're at least 10 points away from where we are right now by Friday, either up or down. So we would actually make like tickle 5,000 maybe, 5,500, 5,050 SPX, or we give 5,200 such a kick in the fanny as it goes above. So I do think this is a fairly large catalyst of a Fed meeting. And the last 10 have been ridiculous. So I'm just going for 11 for 11.
Let's keep the party rolling. Yeah, and listeners, it didn't go up marked as a spread or anything like that, but it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck. Chances are some of it at least was related paper. So yeah, I don't get a chance to talk Qs as often here, but they're kind of a more forgotten story on the 0-day side, but clearly putting up some numbers out there and doing so yet again. Speaking of numbers, let's go out to the single names, see what's lighting it up out there, listeners. And let's see, let's kick it off out there in the land of everyone's favorite banking / fintech / payments name. It's SoFi. Breaking the 7 handle today, ever so slightly, off about 4 cents, 6.98 right now. Good for 203,000 contracts on the number 10 spot. Obviously, that's what it cost you to break into the top 10 today. So not exactly a rock'em sock'em robots day. Back down on the lower end of the spectrum. We've been hitting 270, 280, 300, even higher, 370 one day recently. So obviously coming off that, but still a respectable day, all things considered. SoFi looks like low was 686, so we bounced off that a little bit. Good for 203,000 contracts in the number 10 spot. Number 9, out to everyone's other favorite AI name, perhaps. It is Palantir, 2382 out there today, up about a third of a buck. Good for 227,000 contracts out there. It's kind of come off a bit. Last week it was trading nearly 26 bucks, so it's come in almost $3 over the last 5 days or so. It's like it's rebounded a little bit off the lows from about 23.5 on Friday. So intriguing stuff out there. Are you still all in on Palantir? Have you gotten the heck out of Dodge? Hit us up. Let us know. Let's keep on rolling out to number 8. Another one that people don't traditionally instantly associate with AI. They're all trying to get in this game at the end of the day, right? It's a big AI arms race. That's what we're talking about today, obviously, and every day, it seems like. So Amazon's certainly in that mix, but not in the vanguard. Nonetheless, up about a quarter of a buck today, 174 and about 2/3. Good for 263,000 contracts and the number 8 spot. Number 7, nothing to do with AI at all, which is kind of refreshing, but still has its drama wrapped up around it. This is, of course, Warner Brothers Discovery. Another one's kind of unched today, off about a third of a cent. It's like it's had about a 21 cent range, so not a banger day out there from a range perspective, trading $8.50 right now. Let's see what's going up out there in Warner Bros. 281,000 contracts out there today. 144,000 of the March 9 puts. That'll do it against 105,000. We put up, talked about a tight, very tight collar out there. I think it was on Oddities a few weeks ago. I'll have to go out and see the strikes and see if this is the one, because some paper going out there today. 144,000 of the 9 puts and 105,000 of the 10 calls. As I recall, it was a pretty sizable position. Yeah, coming into today, there are 144,000 of those open today. So clearly they're taking that bad boy off. That was open back on Valentine's Day, February 14th. So they gave it a little bit over a month of the college try. I do believe we broke that down on Oddity, so look for a full breakdown maybe coming up later this week as we get all the nuts and bolts on that one put together for you. Number 6, this is an interesting one as well. The old Goog's making it. You might say, what's a big deal? Alphabet Class A. No, you're wrong. This is Class C. We don't talk about Class C ever, it seems like, except for today, when the rising AI tide lifts all boats, including Class C, aka Goog. 149 and about a dime, up nearly $7, again, as the Rock Lobster alluded to. I won't belabor that point out there, but good for 335,000 contracts and the number 6 spot. Number 5, a name we've come to expect now. It's AMD, 192.14, up about $1.10, or about a little over 0.5% today. Good for 389,000 contracts. And the number 5 spot, number 4, is the name we might usually associate with AI. It's GOOGL, aka Alphabet Class A. 148.60, up about $7.5 there as well, and good for nearly 700,000. You know, things are popping off in the Google landscape when both the Googs and the GOOGLs are hitting our top 10. Don't see that very often outside of maybe earnings day out there. Number 3, another name you've come to expect out there, NVIDIA, 881.90, up about $3.5 right now. Good for the number 3 spot, 888,000 contracts. Number 2, so this is what it takes, listeners, to lift the fruit company back into the number 2 spot. It's AI. How long have we been saying they just need to whisper those magic 2 letters? Well, they finally have done so today. 175, almost in the half, about 280 or about 1.6%. Good for 900,000 contracts hitting the tape out there in fruit company. This is the old school Apple, the Apple we used to know and love and also roundly mock on the show. I haven't seen this in a while, so maybe Apple, now that it's pivoting away from electric cars and into AI, maybe going to start feeling its oats again. They're not idiots. They see where the trend is going. If you want ridiculous multiples in your PE and everything else, you got to have those 2 magic letters in there somewhere. And EV ain't it anymore. So clearly AI is the thing. But you know what? EV is it when it comes to options volume, clearly, because Tesla still holding down the top spot, 1.61 million contracts. Tesla rallying today after hitting a near-term low last week down in the 160 range. How low did they get? They got to 160, pretty much even, almost 161. So yeah, that and rebounding today, trading 172 and about a third, up about 8 3/4, about 5.3%. Good for 1.61 million contracts on the day. So even Apple and AI, the 2 magic A's coming together, is not enough to unseat the Leviathan, the Titan known as Tesla. Looking on the earnings front, you know, we talk about Titans. They don't get any bigger than our old friend Stone Cold popping off today. Also on Wednesday, another one of Uncle Mike's favorites, Ollie's Bargain Outlets. I had never heard of this thing until actually our buddy Mr. Overby talked about it in one of his OPR episodes a year or 2 ago. He did a straddle or something on it. I forgot what the trade was, but it was intriguing to say the least. Also, CHWY, Five Below on Wednesday. Thursday, the Meatballs' favorite, Darden Restaurants, as well as Nike, and they of sheer yoga pants infamy, Lululemon. And no, before you ask, I will never let that go. It's just too funny. In terms of earning move results, luckily for you folks, we have them all in our hot little hands, courtesy of our friends out there in ORATS land. Right now, we got some names popping off, including SAIC and ERJ. Let's look ahead a little bit, though, to after the bell today. Stone Cold. They're at 17 in the third when we ran this report earlier this morning. They were pricing in $1.93. In the past, they moved nearly $2.5. So taking a fair amount of juice off the top in Stone Cold. Wow. You think Stone Cold, you think a little bit of juice. I know their last announcement, I believe, was a banger. So I guess not pricing in a lot of juice out there right now. Ollie's, how much juice is in Ollie's, the 20th before the bell? They were at 74 even when we ran these numbers. They're pricing in 4 3/4. In the past, they moved about 5.10. So in the ballpark of what they had before, taking a little bit off the top, but not much. CHWY, the 20th after the bell, 17 and a third is where they were trading. They were pricing in, get this, 271 listeners. In the past, they've moved to $1.78. So nearly $1 worth of extra juice in an already fairly cheap straddle. That's a lot of extra juice in CHWY, listeners. What about Five Below? Is it the same deal? They're trading 201.5, so fairly rich for a $5 name. $12.60 is what they were pricing in. The past they moved $12.71, so kind of a lot of tread and water there. Micron, interesting. A name that for a while there was getting hot again. We thought maybe it was $19.99 all over again. They're at $93.25. They're popping off 20th after the bell as well. They're pricing in, oh my goodness, they're pricing in $10 even. In the past, they've moved $4.46. So more than 2x. Wow. Micron, they starting to feel it. They starting to feel those magic 2 letters and the impact they're in. Wow. That might merit some further study, listeners. Darden Restaurants, the meatball's favorite. Darden Restaurants, of course. Ticker symbol, a DRI. And let's see, they're popping off 21st before the bell, trading at 172. They're pricing in $7. In the past, they've moved $5. So fair amount of extra juice in Darden's Restaurants as well. My goodness. Wow. Interesting. Is more juice the order of the day? Well, given what the season has given us, listeners, the answer is clearly yes. Oh, here's another one. Lululemon. They're on the 21st after the bell. They're trading $465. So a fairly rich stock to begin with. They're pricing in $42.15. If that sounds a little rich, it's because their past moves are $32.72. They're pricing in nearly $10 worth of extra juice. Sheer yoga pants for the vol win. My goodness. Again, if you look at the season, it's hard to fault them. We're hanging out at a 128% right now. That's 24% above our already lofty long-term average of 104%. So more juice is the order of the day right now. And clearly, as those numbers I just crunched for you show, it's not slowing down anytime soon. You want to see all that for yourselves? TheOptionsInsider.com. That's the place to go because we like you. All there completely for free. As we keep on rolling into the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by TheOptionsInsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's get weird. Let's get wild. Let's go out to the land of energy, in particular, Valero Energy Corp, ticker symbol VLO. Haven't talked about this one in a little while. This is American-based downstream petroleum company. So if you wonder if they were upstream or downstream, there you go. There's the answer to your question, listeners. Trading 165.20, ticker symbol VLO. So up about $1.50 or nearly a full percent today. So nice little pop for them today. Out there on the year, let's see what they've been up to. Decent year for them as well. A year ago was trading 128, almost 129, so up about $36 and change on the year. 28%. Not a bad return. I think most people would take that outside of the NVIDIA call holders. They got down to their low for the year of 104, almost even. So from that level, they've rallied even more aggressively, over 60 handles, because it's been pretty much straight up ever since that level. They hit that in May the 4th, actually. And then ever since then, it's been straight up to where they are right now. Over 60 handles to the upside, trading 165.25 right now, just ticking. So intriguing stuff out there. Mr. Rock Lobster, looks like we found something, sometimes you want to just take a little off the top. And, I can't fault somebody for doing that. Seems like somebody came in today and they said, you know what? This stock's been on the rampage. If it keeps rampaging, I don't mind selling it at, let's say, the lofty level of 190. I think most people would agree with that. And so to that end, they came in and sold 19,074 of the June 190 calls. Got a whopping $3.15 for them, so they didn't get nothing for them. The stock was actually a little bit higher, 165.25. There are going to be earnings between now and June expiration. The next announcement is on April 25th, so you got to ride through a few earnings waves. But at the end of the day, Mr. Rock Lobster, if you're selling these, are you getting roughly 2% through June expiration if things hang out here? Not terrible. Not blowing the doors off, but not terrible either. And then also, as our buddy Mr. Matt has always said when he crunches the numbers on these covered call back tests, at the end of the day, it's all about the strike and how much room you give yourself to run to the upside. In that case, they did a great job because they could run all the way to 190 and then cake to $3. I think most people would do that trade. Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, what are your thoughts? Sometimes you need a nice covered call 20,000 times to the upside, sir. What do you say?
Yeah, so that's 20,000 times $3. Was that $600,000? I would say that makes I would say that makes a very reasonable covered call. Like with covered, I'm looking at more on stuff on Twitter now and following more people to see, because I've been told my option education is a little too complex for the average trader. So I'm trying to bridge the gap between beginners and becoming a little more advanced trading. So I'm seeing what people put out, and I have to say I'm shaking my head a little bit. There's a lot of stuff I learned on Twitter. Did you know that when you sell puts, that you instantly make that money? Did you know that was a fact?
Instant credit to your account.
I was quite shocked by this.
Yeah, you can go spend that money instantly and go buy your own girlfriend's Ferrari. And
you can go spend it, yes. So that's one of the things I've learned on Twitter Finance. And then people being grumpy about covered calls. What a covered call, and like a covered call has no dollar risk whatsoever. As long as you want to hold the stock forever, there's no risk. Okay. So when does it count? When you're wrong, when does it, when does it count? Anyway, so I'm learning these things on Twitter that I had never known before. So now I would say when you write calls on a stock, since that is a synthetic short put, the best you're going to do is have the stock go to the strike. Now, there are other things you could do if the call pulls back in price, and you could close it for a gain, and then go write another one. Sure, but I mean ultimately, if you sell a call and the stock blows up, I mean that's kind of what you got. Like I said, there's ways to trade out of it, but you're selling puts synthetically. So this particular one of the calls so out of the money, I think it's like a free shot to sell that dough. So, I mean, for my head, selling cover calls like this, unless again, and by the way, and having your call stock being taken away could sometimes be very beneficial when you're stripped away of all your stock on a Friday, and on Monday the market's down 3%. You're like, woohoo, right? So you win. So it's just on how you want to trade that. But again, for the most part, if I'm in Valero, I wouldn't call it a growth stock. It's just an oil stock that could be bouncing hard. Selling calls on like something like NVIDIA, I think your eyes would roll back in your head because, you sold them and the stock's up $300 through your short strike. So that's not fun. But anyway, this one, I like this. I think it's a very useful sale with some, giving yourself a good $25 bump in the stock, and you have the $3 spend. I think this is a very reasonable covered call strategy for a holder.
Reasonable. I didn't hate it. And again, before you send your hate mail into the Rock Lobster, yes, it is $6 million that you're harvesting out there, but a good do nonetheless.
Oh, it's 20,000.
It's 20,000. Yes. I wanted to let you run for a while, but yes,
that's good.
Someone's going to write in and be a fancy pants.
I never traded 20,000 contracts.
That's true. That's small size for you.
I thought 1,000 was big. Not anymore.
But yeah, a decent covered call. Sometimes you just got to go with a decent covered call, and that one would certainly qualify, I think, as a decent covered call. What's $6 million amongst friends, Mr. Rock Lobster? A little bit of nothing. That's your Monday night little bit of board game action. You throw $6 million on Monopoly. Why not? Free parking. Right there we go. All right, let's keep on. Let's keep on rolling out to. This is definitely a newcomer. I would remember this one. This is Celebrite DI Limited, ticker symbol CLBT. CLBT, I think maybe celebrities, something to do with social media and celebrities. Nope. Trading 1167 right now. Celebrite DI Limited is an Israeli digital, so I guess the DI stands for digital intelligence. That's apparently a thing now. An Israeli digital intelligence company, easy for me to say, that provides tools for federal, state, and local law enforcement. All right, there we go. That tells you nothing. 1170, up about 12 cents, or about 1% today. Let's see. On the docket here, Then we got to get rolling. We're already having a lot of fun here. Got to get to the land of Uncle Mike goodness as well. On the year, up nearly $6 or 105%. My goodness, things on the rampage. Was trading $5.70 a year ago, and then it's been shooting pretty much straight up. Got up to about 9.25 about a little over a month ago on February 12th. And then that day it shot up hard from 9.25 up to about 11.39. Not sure what the news was, but something was popping off there. And they kept rallying all the way up to about 12.30 on March 1st. It has since come back down to 11.70 or so, but still a decent couple of months, decent year for CLBT. And Mr. Rock Lobster, seems like somebody thinks the partay is potentially continuing. They scooped up nearly 5,000, 4,755 of the April 12 halves, paying 35 cents. What say you, sir? You like these? You love them? You hate them?
This looks like some potential takeout paper. And then you got Israeli DI intelligence thing going on. This has tinfoil hat written all over it. Digital intelligence for managing legally sanctioned investigations. So I'm just going to say all the tinfoil hat. Yeah, that does sound pretty dubious. I will agree with you there. Again, they're going to be bought out by Blackwater or something. You know, who knows?
Got the Mossad coming looking into your business.
Yeah.
that doesn't sound shady at all.
I'm just saying. You got the TikTok. You got these guys. There
you go. You want to buy a little Israeli defense or whatever they called it, DI, defensive intelligence, head on over to CLBT. Meanwhile, I got to head on over into the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, let's do it. Uncle Mike, we're having so much fun. We almost didn't have time for easy for me to say, for strategizing, for a little bit of strategery, but we saved you some, sir. What you got in store for us this week?
All right, so what I want to go through today is that options give you options. I know we've said that on the show before, of course, but let's say, for example, that you have a stock, it's appreciated in value. I want to give you 4 choices to where you can do all 4 things with that stock. So let's assume you hold 400 shares of XYZ stock and you're not quite sure what you want to do with it. Because it's gone up a little bit more than you thought it would. And I want to give you what I believe are the 4 choices you have in terms of that will give you diversification in terms of the end point of that stock. The first one, hold it for longer. Let it go up even higher. You know you want to. Why not? Second one, sell it. Get out of it. Take profits, for crying out loud. Why are you still in it? It went up further than you thought it was going to be. So those are the 2 easy ones. That's for 100 and 200 share, 100 shares you can sell, 100 shares you can hold. The next 200 shares, it gets a little bit more complex in terms of where you can go with it. Now, what I like to do is with 100 shares, I would then just buy a put or a put spread to hedge it somewhat, whether it would be a at the money put a little bit below, whatever the case may be. I would look to do something to continue to try to get upside on this stock to where I have a put in place, whether I just buy a put or if the puts are a little bit too expensive, maybe buy a put spread. By doing that, I have some type of protection to the downside. So the stock can still go higher on me. I can still feel good about it, but I also have some type of protection on it. And then the final way with which you can do something on it, in my opinion, there's infinite amounts of ways that you can handle this, but the 4 that I would typically go to would be to do a collar, to where you actually have the ability to hedge the stock for free. However, the bad side of it is that you are giving up upside, and that's your ultimate cost. So, for example, if the stock is appreciated to $100 per share, you could sell the 105 covered call and use the money that you do instantly have. Yes, they were right on Twitter. You instantly have it, so long as you're willing to take risk on the stock. But you do instantly have the premium to use. But with it, you can use the premium instead of putting it in your pocket. You can buy a put with it at the 95 level, let's say. So what I want to emphasize to the listeners today is if you have appreciated stocks and you're looking at the markets like, oh boy, this is kind of concerning to me, you have choices. And if you can't make a choice, make several choices. You don't have to do all of just one thing. You can still live on, and you get that uncomfortable feeling of, oh, should I sell or should I hold it? What do I do with it? Diversify some of the things with which you're going to do with it. That would be what I would look at it. And if you ever have any questions on such a thing, feel free to reach out to good old Uncle Mike. More than happy to have a conversation with folks on it. And that is my strategy block for the day after St. Patty's Day.
There you go. Uncle Mike still sleeping off his hangover as we keep on rolling and go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, I'll tell you what we're keeping an eye on this week. Spoiler alert, Powell and Company definitely in the crosshairs this week. Also in the crosshairs is our question of the week, which just went live right before showtime. I'd ask you another fun one, we kind of seemingly straightforward one, yet we haven't really asked you this, at least not in quite some time. Very simple. What is your primary reason for trading options? Gave you the three top ones and then the infamous other. So income/premium harvesting, protection or hedging, speculation, or the infamous other. Let's go out to Mr. Andrew now, sir. Which way do you think our audience is going? Which way are you going if you have your own choice? And then what are you keeping an eye on for the rest of the week, sir?
Wow, that's a fun one. I like all three.
Yeah, I thought about all of the above, but that's kind of a cop-out. I got to make you choose one.
Well, I mean, for a lot of income, I've always made a living on them, a pretty good one. What the heck? I don't know. I think most people would say income because I think that fits the average, like investor style better. Writing puts for, cover calls and cash secured puts and stuff like that, and trying to generate extra bucks on your money. So I would say that would fit the listeners better. And then I go speculation number 2.
And what are you keeping an eye on for the rest of the week, sir?
Well, we got this silly Fed thing. We were down 1% Friday, and now we're up 1% today. I don't know. So I have to say the market, besides today being the top of the crazy AI frenzy in the short term, waiting for the Fed to propel us, to propel the market another bunch on Wednesday.
Yeah, that could certainly happen. Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you. If you have a favorite way, income, hedging, all of the, you can't go all of the above. It's a cop-out. You got to pick one. B, which way is our audience going? And C, what are you keeping an eye on for the rest of the week?
My favorite, I will say income. The audience, I will say speculation. And then in terms of what I'm watching the rest of the week, I'll be watching the Fed to see where they go on Wednesday and seeing if we make some more new all-time highs. Maybe I can say my thing on Thursday. Who knows?
Uncle Mike loves to say his thing. He just comes on the show just to say his thing, listeners. That music means we're pretty much done saying things, at least for this fine program. Right now, in the early blush of voting, listeners, 57.9% of you are choosing income or premium harvesting, 31.6% going for speculation, 10.5% for protection or hedging, and 0% of you choosing other right now, which is interesting. That just went live. Obviously, our question of the week at Options, the place to go to learn more. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, if they want to learn more from you, where should they go? What should they do?
stcharleswealth.com. Sign up for a phone call. Would love to have a conversation with any of our listeners. As always, if you're looking for a financial advisor who enjoys the option product, feel free to reach out to me and follow me on Twitter at Mike Tosaw, TOSAW.
Give him a call soon. You can get the Uncle Mike mobile coming to your door. stcharleswealth.com, the place to go. And Mr. Rock Lobster, where should they go if they want more pit goodness in their lives?
Yeah, 888-TRADE-01. Weekly profit cycles, trading desks, our pro. If you want to learn how options work for income, speculation, or hedging, come to optionpit.com and get your learning on. You get 10% off. You heard this show.
There you go. Check them out, optionpit.com. It's going to do it for us on the old OB, but don't worry, not done yet, not by a long shot. Coming back in a wee bit to talk all the madness going on. What the hell's going on in crypto today? Where is Bitcoin right now? What's the vol? What's the skew going? What's this crazy pre-sale in Solana? What's happening out there? All sorts of madness. We're going to break it all down with our good buddy, Mr. Bill, coming up in a little bit. So if you're hanging out in the live, just hang out there. We'll be back in a little bit with all sorts of crypto-related fun, except for Uncle Mike. He is not welcome on that program. And then back again with our usual array of content, listeners, until we're back again on Thursday, another episode of The Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.